I guess I could start off with what what kind of led me down the path that I am in right now, and
Mhm.
hopefully I can connect it with teaching. Um, so I spoke about imitation,
Mhm.
and I realized that that was for me as a student. That's how I learned as well. It just and it's very common, right? We
Right.
all do studies, master copies. Um, but I wanted to try to figure out and dissect the process. I think that was something that I really enjoyed more than the result was
Mhm.
really about the mindset. And I don't know, do you watch anime?
Not as much, but I am a fan of the craft for sure.
Okay. Well, there's this
Right.
like I mean this is dated, but like there's a anime called Naruto.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And then there's
Definitely.
a there's a there's a there's a teacher, Kakashi Sensei,
Right.
right? Um I I'm like, if I'm a character, I'm that guy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm,
Okay.
I'm a copy ninja. I'm not Naruto. I'm not Sasuke. I'm not the cool dudes,
Right.
But Sasuke is really cool, or
Mm.
Kakashi is really cool. Like he's what I resonate with him. I was like, whoa! If I'm a character, I feel like I resonate more with this particular character because
Right.
I'm a copy ninja where I can copy it, interpret it in my way, and
Mhm.
try to um recreate it and try to understand the mechanics or understand the aesthetic behind it.
Right.
And I think the reason why I became more in that route was that I was in the search of like figuring out what my voice was.
Mhm.
And during this process, I was like, my voice is trying to understand because it goes
Right.
back to the root of who I am, which was I had such a hard time understanding um, school subject matter that it made me very insecure. I became I wasn't a confident person. So,
Mhm.
my personality always kind of stayed very neutral. I wasn't,
I see.
one way or the other. Even artistically, I didn't veer one way or the other because I didn't know what I liked. And I didn't, and I was just kind of like an open canvas. I was like, oh, maybe this looks cool. Maybe that looks cool. Let's just try it out.
Right.
But because of my background, where I couldn't break things down structurally. I had to figure out my own way to understand how to how to create an image like Craig Mullins. Not that I can, but I would try to. Yeah, that would be my
Right.
form of education and kind of like meditating and trying to figure out. Okay, well, how would Craig Mullins paint? How would he paint a tree?
Right.
What tools and brushes does he use? And why does it look the way it looks? And why does it have this Craig Mullins feel? And it's everything that we talked about. It's jazz.
Right.
And then I'll do the same thing. I was like, okay, if I paint a tree and it looks like Jamie Jones, what makes it look like a Jamie Jones feeling? And I'm like,
Mm.
oh well, everything is beautiful. Everything is done with a certain level of intent, but it's very rhythmic
Right.
and it's like classical music. And for me, I love the process of trying to analyze and break it down. And that's what really got me into teaching, you know,
Okay.
because I wanted to learn things for myself, but I also wanted to share, like I almost like as if I discovered something. I'm like, hey guys, I found the answer to this thing. Look over here. Like this is how you can paint like this person, even though that's not how they paint. But I thought I found the answer, but
Right.
really it was I was on the journey to kind of find my own voice, which
Mhm.
was, oh, I'm the person who tries to, you know, break things down and imitate other artists. That's what I really enjoy. And I think through that process, I probably created and found my own voice and my own style because it's kind of a cobble and a mixture of different different artists that I really looked up to.
Right.
And so it made me understand that in art, even though everyone has their own process, they have their own secret.
Mhm.
What I really enjoyed is the secret to making art is that there is no secret. It's just about being
Right.
constantly curious, you know? I used to think it was always a secret. I'm like, oh man, how did they do this thing? And some artists are more private and they like to not really openly share. But because of my background and not being educationally savvy, I was like, well, if I can figure it out, anyone can,
Hmm.
And as a matter of fact, I want to share with people like, hey, this is this is how I did it. Like I figured it out, and I'm not the smartest person in the world,
Right.
but what do you think? And it was just really came from that simple intention of like, hey, I just want to share the things that I discovered and see if people agree with me. And and I think that's what led me down the whole teaching route.
Right.
It really started with that simple discovery of
Hmm.
trying to analyze and break down artwork and then passing it on and just starting kind of like a creative slash educational discussion,
Right.
with other students who are colleagues and artists of this community. It's just like, hey, like this is how I learned it, but what do you guys think? Like, does it resonate? Does it make
Hmm.
sense? Is it improving your understanding of it? And it becomes a very fun experience because the students will take that information, they'll interpret it, they'll kick out, they'll make something way cooler. And then along the way, they'll say, hey, actually, I took the process that you showed us
Right.
and I evolved it. I did it like this. And I'm like, that's even cooler. That's better than what I did. Like,
Right.
how did you come up with that? And it creates this conversation, like an open dialogue. And I fell in love with that.
Hmm.
Um, and so I've been teaching since, gosh, it was been since 2009. That's when I officially started teaching at my friend's school at Red Engine.
Right.
I was there when it first opened in Los Angeles, and I wasn't teaching a painting class or anything like that. I was still trying to figure out how to mix colors and stuff. But
Right.
I was teaching I was teaching a drawing class. It was like a perspective environment drawing class.
Right.
Um, and I also taught vehicle and mech design because
Wow.
I love drawing mechs. That was like my thing.
Right.
And and I fell in love. I was like, this is really cool. This goes beyond this is not about me, you know, trying to be in a position of like, hey, I'm the teacher, I know it all. But it was
Right.
more of, hey, I have some cool, interesting theories
Mhm.
that I like to share. Um, and if it works out for you, great. And I love to just kind of see how it benefits people who are learning this for the first time.
Right.
And that's where I fell in love. I fell in love with the idea of just wanting to teach, to kind of create like light a spark in people's creative path, and to see how they take it and how they evolve, right?
Right.
um and I don't necessarily want them to be a replica, a carbon copy of me, because
Mhm.
that's not what life is about. It's about inspiring people to find their own voice,
Of course.
um and 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 that's the journey that I'm on. And yeah.